Good evening, Danvers. I'm John Call, and I want to welcome you tonight to our 2025 Select Board Candidate Forum. We have all 7 candidates with us tonight. They are running for 2 open seats, and I would like to introduce them to you. Starting right here on my left, we have Dan Bennett, and then Mark Lentini, Gardner Trask, Sandy Freshenini, close? Francischini, sorry.
That's okay.
Kevin Barrich, Natalie Luca Fiore, and Mike Baxter. So welcome tonight. I'm going to go over the rules so that you know what the candidates are playing with, so that you may wonder why they're answering questions in a certain way, and it's because we have certain rules for them to follow. They will each receive 90 seconds at the beginning. Oh, they're going to be on the screen too. So each will have 90 seconds at the beginning for their opening statements and 90 seconds at the end for their closing statements. There will be 5 to 6 questions asked by a journalist from the Salem News, Michael McHugh, and each candidate will receive 90 seconds to answer each question. Between each question, I will let each candidate know when the 90 seconds starts. Before the forum, we pulled the order of answering out of a hat and rotated the order so that the candidates will answer their questions in. Candidates will keep their answers related to the questions asked and not diverge into unrelated topics, and they will keep their comments to their own plans and goals and not direct their comments to or about other candidates. Again, I want to welcome Michael McHugh from the Salem News. He will be asking all the questions tonight, and thank DCAT for hosting the forum yet again this year. And with that, let's get started. Michael, first question.
Thank you for having me, and thank you all for being here. What do you see as the most important issue?
What about the opening statement?
Yeah, the opening statement.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gardner. Yeah, okay. Let's start with the opening statements. I just said that. No. Okay, Dan, please
Thank
begin
you,
now.
John. Hello, Danvers. I am Dan Bennett, candidate for re-election to the Select Board. My wife, Janet, maiden name Wells, and I have 3 children, 4 grandchildren, 2 great-granddaughters. I am the owner-broker of Dan Bennett Real Estate, serving the community for 24 years. We are both proud graduates of Danvers High School, and I have devoted 32 years serving you in our community. First as a town meeting member, zoning board of appeals, later elected to the school committee, library board of trustees, and for the last 18 years, one of your select board members. I have been a Kiwanis volunteer since 1999. In 2016, I was recognized as Citizen of the Year by the Greater Beverly Chamber of Commerce. In 2017, I was recognized as the Realtor of the Year by the North Shore Association for my volunteer work. In 2018, I was named Distinguished Governor of New England and Bermuda District of Kiwanis. Currently, I volunteer as President of the Friends of the Danvers Council on Aging and Vice President of the Danvers Historical Society. I am also Chair of the Preservation Commission and represent the Select Board on the Affordable Housing Trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, our next candidate, Mark, and your time starts now.
Good evening. My name is Mark Lentini. I'm a lifelong resident of Danvers, and I'm hoping tonight that I can earn your vote in the May 6th election. I'm happily married for 35 years and have 3 children, grown adults, all with successful careers. I am a volunteer, or have volunteered with Danvers Youth Football for 15 years, Danvers American Little League for 9 years. I am currently a registrar for the town of Danvers to help with the elections. I am the vice president of the Touchdown Club, now the Legends Club of Danvers, for 30 plus years. And I also have been actively involved in the community, helping with all sorts of things. I'm a former employee of the town of Danvers. Of those 10 plus years, 6 of those years I was union president, so I have an intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the town of Danvers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. All right, Gardner, and your time starts now.
Thank you. My name is Gardner Trask, and I love our town. As someone who was born and raised here, I am passionate about preserving and enhancing the unique character of our town. My wife Trish and I raised our 3 children here, each of whom attended Danvers Public Schools. Danvers is more than just a town to me. It is a place where families grow, businesses flourish, and neighbors come together to support one another. I am proud to be part of such a vibrant, close-knit community, and I'm committed to ensuring it remains a place where we all love and cherish. As a former select board member, I have had the privilege of help guiding Danvers through opportunities and challenges alike. My decision to run again is deeply personal and rooted in my passion for this town. It is my desire to continue serving the residents who make it such an incredible place to live. And I have demonstrated my commitment to the residents through decades of volunteerism in numerous civic and social organizations, hundreds of hours on boards and commissions, and years of experience as a town meeting member and on the select board. With our newly hired town manager and cuts to federal funding that are already impacting Danvers residents, Danvers needs to elect a select board member with practical knowledge and experience. I offer that experience and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Gardner. And Sandy, and your time starts now.
Hello, my name is Sandy Francis Heaney, and I'm running for Danvers Select Board. Because I am passionate about keeping Danvers a town, supporting our residents, and addressing any challenges with smart community-driven solutions. With 21 years here as a resident, raising my family, I have 2 daughters, one who is a freshman in college and the other is a junior in high school. I am proud to call Danvers home. You can also visit more about my campaign on my website, which is votesandyfrancisguinea.com, and also my Facebook page, the Committee to Elect Sandy Francis Guinea for Select Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Okay, Kevin, and your time starts now.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Barrich. I'm running for Select Board because I care deeply about Danvers. I grew up here, and I'm proud to be raising my children here with my wonderful wife, Sarah. I've never served an elected office before, unless you count student council at Great Oak School. We got a lot done. But through a variety of civilian and military leadership positions, I've learned to lead others, to manage schedules and budgets, to put service before self, and to make data-driven decisions. I'm running because local government matters. Local government responds on our worst day. It educates our children. It keeps our streets clean. It provides opportunities for recreation and cares for our seniors. These things are worth doing, and they're worth doing well. I'm running because I believe in transparency and accountability. I'm committed to keeping Danvers a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I humbly ask for your vote.
Thank you, Kevin. And Natalie, and your time starts now.
Okay, thank you. I'm honored to be one of the 7 candidates running for the Danvers Select Board, and I'd like to share with you why I'm seeking your support. I've lived here in Danvers for 19 years with my husband, Bill, who's a retired fire lieutenant in Beverly Fire Department. I am a realtor with Keller Williams Realty. I've been a realtor for 30 years now. And since moving here in 2006, I've been committed to giving back. I have been on the library board for 12 years now, just finishing up my 12th year. I am also a town meeting member since 2015, and I currently am the treasurer for the Danvers Rotary. I also serve on the Town Manager and Town Meeting Acts Review Committee, and so volunteering obviously has been important to me. Our town stands at critical crossroads, and this election presents a real opportunity for meaningful progress. While the challenges we face may seem daunting, I believe that a new board paired with a new town manager offer the ideal opportunity for fresh leadership and positive changes. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Natalie. And last but not least, Michael Baxter. And Michael, your time starts now.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Baxter, and I'm running for selectman in Danvers. I believe it's truly a time for a new generation of leadership, someone who brings fresh energy, new ideas, and a real passion for our community. This election is not about the five of us up here. It's about the town of Danvers and where we go next. And I'm ready to step up, do the hard work, and represent all the people of Danvers and make sure that all your voices are heard and always heard and never silenced. I hope to earn your vote on May 6th. Please visit www.electmikebaxter.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so now it's question time. Thank you all for your opening statements. Much appreciated. And now we will turn it over to, and the way that I want to do this, Mike will ask the question, and then we'll go to the candidates for answers. If at any, and then when I announce the next candidate can start, that's great. If you need to hear the question again, simply ask Mike to repeat it, and he'll repeat the question for you. All right, Michael, go right ahead.
All right, thank you. What do you see as the most important issue facing Danvers today, and how do you plan to address it?
Dan?
Most important issue is development. And we need to have a better plan to have development along Endicott Street, Route 114, and Route 1 corridor rather than in our neighborhoods. We need to have a better plan to attract businesses to these areas for economic development. That is the most important thing facing us today.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, Mark?
There are numerous things. One of the things is, like Dan touched on, development. We can no longer allow any more Maple Squares in the town of Danvers, in the downtown corridor. I will touch upon accountability and financial responsibility. I believe that's another big one, as well as employee retention. We need to attract quality employees, and we need to be able to have the ability to retain these employees.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Okay, Gardner?
Thank you. I think right now what we're facing in Danvers is a greater need for communication and engagement between the citizens and the town leadership. We need more stability and civility in our conversations. We need to be able to talk to each other respectfully and understand that there are multiple sides to every issue. Good people can disagree without being disagreeable. And I think that we have wavered away from that as of late. And I would like to get back to that point that has actually been the hallmark of the board and the town for quite a while, until quite recently. So I would like to move in that direction. Obviously, there's specific issues regarding development, regarding water, regarding our schools. But right now, I think the most important thing is to return us to a open communications that encourages civility and stability. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Gardner. Sandy?
Hi.
You may
Thank
start.
you for your question, Michael. I think the first key issue is communication. I think the town has to do a better job of reaching out to residents and business owners. I feel like we should have something called the select board office hours. We used to have them when Ken Brown was on the select board, and I think Ted Speliotis also had it too when he was a representative as well. I think it's just a great way to reach out to folks and find out what's an issue that they're having, whether it be their home or their businesses. Another thing that I would also like to see dealt with is bringing in more businesses to the square. We need to bring more folks into the town. A few businesses have opened up, which has been great. It's great to see a lot more people around town, but it's more nighttime. I would like to see more businesses that are available for folks during the day as well. And then another issue too is development. I think we're building way too much right now, and my concern is our resources. We don't have enough to cater for the demographic we have now. And now to bring in more people, we're gonna need to hire more police officers, more firefighters, EMTs, and we might need more equipment as well. So that's just the burden that I'm just a little concerned about. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Sandy. Okay, Kevin.
Yeah, I think the issue that I hear the most about talking to Danvers residents is certainly development and the views that where we are and where we're headed is overdevelopment. I share those concerns. I think several of the other candidates put it really well. But in short, we have to comply with state law. We don't want to be in a position where we're suing the state and the state's suing us. It's a bad place to be. But it is our zoning, and we can and should make it work for us. I'm particularly concerned in our neighborhoods where we see, 3 and 4 units being shoehorned in on a lot. We saw some residents who are very concerned about this off of Pine Street recently. It's our zoning. We can and should make it work for us. We should start with dimensional requirements and make sure that the appropriate size house is going on the appropriate size lot in the appropriate neighborhood. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Natalie.
Okay, so you're asking for the most important. However, I have a little list. So let's start with revitalizing our downtown, which has been a big one for me for a while now. When I first moved here to Danvers, we had a lot of stores to shop at. Now I'm finding myself leaving town to go shop small business elsewhere. So revitalizing our downtown and making it easier for the businesses that are here to thrive by bringing more people in. I do think that starts at town hall somewhat. I think it's very difficult for businesses to navigate town hall and the permitting process. So I certainly would like to see that be a little bit easier for new businesses coming in. I think having a vibrant, thriving downtown is what most residents ultimately want. With that will come the growth down there. So obviously the MBTA Act that got approved is a challenge for us, and we have to figure out how to have measured growth without overtaxing our infrastructure. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Natalie. And Michael.
A couple of things. I think first and foremost, us as select board members, we have to be willing to hold the town manager accountable. Secondly, community engagement is very big for me. I'm a big advocate for local small business and economic opportunities. I really want to create a thriving local economy by supporting and fostering new economic opportunities in this town while remaining a small town, charm with the aesthetics of these buildings in town square. I think that's very important to our community. Community engagement is one of my biggest things right now. It's getting out and talking to members of the community. The folks in this community are going to elect 2 of us to sit on this board and represent them. And if we're not actively talking to these members of our community every day, what are we really doing here? Lastly, my commitment to Danvers extends into infrastructure and improvements in our town's infrastructure in order to grow responsibly while preserving, again, that small town charm and keeping it a town. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Okay, over to Michael. Second question, please.
All right. What would you do to assist the town in meeting its housing shortage?
And Mark, we'll start with you here.
The housing shortage is very real. I was at a seminar recently for ADUs. Very interesting. I am for ADUs to a point. However, the planning board, the zoning board, the board of selectmen need to be very stringent with what is going to be allowed, because eventually what's going to happen is these ADUs that are not attached or detached units, people are going to be selling those off like a second piece of property on their lot. So it's something that we need to be very concerned about. We need to address. We need to be vigilant in whatever housing that is put up in the town of Danvers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Gardner?
Thank you. I have a vision for Danvers where my children, grandchildren, and seniors who may have outsized their homes after raising their families can find affordable housing in town. And this is housing that's in their economic means. Right now, we don't have that. We have people who want to move to this community. It's a desirable community. People want to live here. And we've had steady growth over the past 20 or 30 years, usually about 100 people a year per the stats. But now we have an explosion. COVID has proven to people that you can work from home effectively, and people are looking not only staying at home, but the housing market is not is slumped between the inventory and the rates. I worked for years as chairman of the Affordable Housing Trust. Its main directive was to make sure that we retained enough affordable housing in town so as not to be compressed by an unfriendly 40B. And we succeeded. We protected the town in that manner. Now it's time to turn our sights to supply and demand. What can we do to increase the supply, reduce the demand, lower the costs? Measured development is going to have to be part of that. The select board is a part of that solution, along with planning board and the ultimate decision by 149 town meeting members when it comes to zoning. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Gardner. Sandy?
Danvers has always been known as a one-family town, and I think the issue was that people coming in weren't quite ready to buy a one-family home. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of rental apartments, so I believe that's why with the new MBTA rule, they were trying to do the multifamily or multi-unit living. But the only issue with that, too, that causes some problems is they're actually rather expensive. So it makes it a little bit harder for people to come into the town and live here. So I guess now they introduced a plan about possibly doing ADUs. Now, ADUs, the owners of the land have to pay for that, and I'm not sure if I'm really excited about having to share your property with others. So there's got to be a better way to bring in new people. I'm not against mixed units, especially in town, with commercial on the bottom and then maybe 1 to 2 floors up on the top, but we have to limit how much we let into. And then also other areas that did build one-family homes, like the McGillivray, I was happy to see that they kept that as one-family homes, but I just felt that they built 1 to too many. I think it should be a little bit more restricted how many homes are built on each plot too. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Kevin?
So it's not just Danvers that has a housing shortage. It's the entire greater Boston area. And once you get outside of that, it's fine. There are more sheep than people if you go further than Worcester, right? But for sure, real estate's expensive. There's some macro forces there that we don't have a lot of control over, right? People are wearing golden handcuffs. They've got low interest rates. They're locked in. Even if they downsize to a smaller place, they're going to pay as much or more for that smaller place because their interest rate's going to shoot up. So we're working against some macro factors. There's not much we can do there, but there are things we can do. So right now, Danvers has a population density of about 2,000 people per square mile. Compare that to Middleton at 700, North Reading at 1,200. In some ways, this problem that affects the greater Boston area, we're not the problem. We're already fairly dense. We need some of our neighboring communities to step up and do their part. What I would like to see is zoning that targets the building of modest-sized single-family homes. We've built a lot of 4,000 square foot homes recently. We've built a lot of apartments. But to Gardner's point, if our kids want to buy a house here and our grandkids want to buy a house here, they're going to need a place to start, and that's what we really lack in town right now.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Natalie?
Thank you. So zoning, was approved at town meeting. That being said, a real plan needs to be discussed about the future of housing in Danvers. And there is only so much space. There is only so much you can do with the space that we have. There are areas maybe on that Endicott Street corridor where an apartment building would fit better. And house some affordable units in it. The answer can't be just jam it all into downtown. That can't be the answer. And again, we only have so much control over what a developer deems fit for town. The ADUs are state mandated, and there seems to be little that we can do about that, as long as the setbacks work and whatnot. However, I don't really think that is the answer. That could lead to overcrowding, could bring property values down. to some extent. Hopefully, that will definitely be watched, and that they will go according to the rules on allowing the ADUs to come in. So thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Michael?
Yeah, I just have to say, we don't need another Maple Square in Danvers. We need more single-family homes and townhouses at most. And we're quickly running out of land in Danvers. That whole Maple Square development should have been put on the 114 or Route 1 corridor, and we should have never knocked down those single-family homes and multifamily units that we had there. Those should have been revitalized, and somebody should have brought that up. And these are the kind of ideas that I'm going to bring to the Board of Selectmen. We're not running out, like I said, we're running out of land, but at the same time, we have to be very conscientious about what we're doing with the current land we have and where those single-family homes and townhomes sit. I would have liked to have seen revitalization of those units and structures instead of a big apartment complex going up in that area. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Okay, Michael? Oh, sorry, Dan.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Thank you. In Danvers, we need housing that appeals both to first-time home buyers and seniors that are looking to downsize. And actually, they're conflicting with each other, looking for those type of houses. So we need the state to step up and incentivize housing, not penalize us like they're doing with the MBTA zoning. We need the ADUs that the state has enacted, a law that they enacted, really is in conflict with our EFLA bylaw. We need the state to revisit that ADU law and make it more appealing to communities that have the EFLAs, so that we have a place for our family to reside and live in. And zoning is the big issue also. We need to zone housing where there's enough space to allow for development of these type of houses, and not necessarily jam it into the neighborhoods on any little piece of property that still remains. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And Dan, if you could just explain an ADU for the people watching.
An accessory dwelling unit.
Thank you.
A unit attached to your house
Gotcha.
that somebody lives in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Michael?
All right. How important do you see continued industrial and commercial development to Danvers' future, and what would you do to pursue them?
And Gardner, we'll start with you.
Sure. Danvers has a rare benefit of having a great commercial and industrial balance along the residents. 70% of this town is residential based. 80% of the town is residential based. 20% of it is commercial and industrial. Yet we tax the commercial and industrial over 30% of the tax revenue. It's important to Danvers has been well served by past boards and past planning to keep most of the commercial entities on the outside, the outskirts of town, leaving the core of Danvers to be residential or a small downtown. I look to seeing where 114, Route 1 South, and the Endicott Plaza can be fully utilized. It's obvious that the Liberty Tree Mall is not being fully at full capacity, and the town should work to see if there's ways to encourage industry to come to town. Cherry Hill and Route 128 North, other good examples. When I was on the board, we gave TIFs to Abiomed and for them to be able to move to Danvers at the old King's Grant location, and it worked very successfully. I think we have to broaden our thoughts and suggest that maybe that's another economic incentive for industry to come to town.
Great. Thank you, Gardner. And if you could also explain your acronym.
TIFs is tax in lieu of tax incentive funding, where the state and the town support the generation of industry by offering some tax relief while they're in a startup mode.
Great. Thank you very much. Sandy?
Yes, well, Danvers had a great history with large industries, particular for Osram and Sylvania Light Company. So we do have the means to have large industry, but the demand now for large industry is not as what it used to be. I would try to see if we can't find other industries that can come in as well, open to smaller industries as well, just something that will balance new opportunities for residents, creating jobs, boost tax revenue, and support nearby businesses. Anything that we can bring in that will help out other neighborhoods or other businesses as well. Anything to bring in some commerce too. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Kevin.
Thank you. Yeah, so Danvers is primarily a residential community. 80% of our land, 70% of our tax base, like Gardner said. So I think we have to always keep in mind that that's first and foremost. That's what we use most of our land for. That's what most people are here for, is to have a nice place to live. That being said, I agree with, I think, some of my fellow candidates that the place for new industrial and commercial development is in the Liberty Tree Mall area, whatever that will become. Clearly, it's not going to be a mall forever. In our highway corridors, in our office parks, that's all great. Again, we're working against some macro forces, right? Work from home, office space isn't as needed as much. That's why people are holding on to those bigger homes. That extra bedroom is helpful because they want the office space. Or we can get some other macro forces like online shopping, right? Retail space is very hard. So where we can, we should encourage it. We should encourage it in the zones that are already zoned for commercial and industrial use, but realize that we're swimming against the tide a little bit. So we'll do what we can, but it's going to be tough.
Thank you, Kevin. Natalie.
Thank you. So I love that there's all kinds of new repurposing for malls now. I would love to see the Liberty Tree Mall become sort of what the North Shore Mall in Peabody has become. Bring in a gym, have like a beautiful, I'm sorry, lost my train of thought here. So, but anyway, I love that ARC has definitely taken up a bunch of the space in the mall. I do think that a wonderful purpose for the Bed Bath & Beyond empty building that was sitting there will be pickleball courts now. So there are ways to bring in different things that aren't necessarily retail or industry into some of these spaces and just reutilize the whole property. And I do think that we do have a good tax base already. I think proximities to our highways are making it attractive for commercial to move here, but there is only so much commercial. Stores are not opening up anymore. So I think other purposes like ARC taking over a bunch of the space and things like that is really a great thing.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Mike?
Yeah, I think, I agree with some of my fellow candidates up here on this one, especially when it pertains to the Liberty Tree Mall. I think that we have a great opportunity to see what other communities have done, especially Linfield Marketplace. I think this is a great example of something that we should be able to do in that space and make it appealing to residents of all ages, bringing families together and making that a community meeting place where we eat, drink, shop, and spend our weekends, some nice, beautiful spring and summer nights with our families. It's a great opportunity to revitalize what has now become somewhat of an eyesore in Danvers. And that's my answer to that question.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Dan?
Thank you. The future of industry in Danvers or any other community is science or medical base. Those are the companies that are attracting the workers. They're the companies that are paying the good wages. That's what we need to develop in Danvers and attract people and companies that have that science, medical based, and help the workforce have a place to go to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And Mark?
So our industrial right now space is 5% or less vacant, which is pretty good for Danvers. We have Danvers Industrial Park, we have Cherry Hill, and both of those places are doing well for industrial. Commercial, that needs a little help. We need to help bring in new folks, incentivize new business to commit to downtown Danvers. And like Michael said and Kevin said, to be able to park your car, walk downtown, grab a bite to eat, shop, do everything without having to go outside the community. But that it would take some serious planning and effort on the board's part, the planning board's part. All the boards would have to come together and communicate effectively to make this happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Gardner.
I started.
You started. Thank you. Okay, Michael.
What is the importance of resident participation in local government, and how do you plan to better involve residents in the decision-making process?
Sandy, you starting this one?
Yes. Okay. I think it's very important to get people involved with town politics. That's why I'm a believer of term limits. I don't feel that you should be on one particular board for very long. I think it's good to mix it around, get more people in, get new ideas. I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question, Michael? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
How do you plan to better involve residents in your decision-making process?
Oh, okay. Just to give them some pointers and let them know like what worked for me, what was a great way like to reach out to people and get involved and participate in a lot of stuff with the community too. Put myself out there as well and get some feedback from folks and see what they liked, what they don't like. Just that's about it. Thank you. I hope that was enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Kevin.
Yeah, so if people are interested, I'd really like for them to consider serving on a board. We have lots of advisory boards, elected boards in town, and we see the same people serving on 3 and 4 and 5. We see people that are on one for longer than they'd like to be on one sometimes because they just don't have anybody stepping up to fill their shoes. So I think encouraging an array of diverse perspectives on those boards would be a great start. I think we need to encourage public participation in all of our meetings, and I think that means having a predictable time in every meeting where people can make comments. I think it means having the meeting open to the public to the extent possible. Executive sessions might need to happen sometimes, but they should be the rarity and the exception. Good news, bad news, unanimity, or debate. We should do all that publicly whenever possible.
Thank you, Kevin. Natalie.
Okay, thank you. So this is something that I've been advocating for a long time. I know that we will never have specific set term limits, but what I like to say is that people should know how to self-impose a term limit, like I just did on the library board, because with new people on a board come fresh ideas, come the ability for everybody to feel that they can participate because they're not going up against entrenched incumbents, and feel like, this town sometimes does vote by name and popularity, and that is a shame sometimes. So when you step aside, you leave room for new participation. While experience is valuable, a board with decades of entrenched perspectives can sometimes be a deterrent. So I always just encourage people to definitely run no matter what. Fresh ideas are always welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Mike.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What is the importance of resident participation in local government, and how do you plan to better involve residents in the decision-making process?
I think that resident participation is key. If we're not actively communicating with our neighbors, and we're all neighbors in Danvers, what are we doing here? I think that this race, being the biggest race that Danvers has ever seen, should be inspirational to some and make people feel more comfortable that your voices can be heard and will be heard, and I will listen to them. Again, I'm not a career politician, but I felt that we needed a change in Danvers. And to answer the last part of the question, I always like to tell people, if you talk to a total stranger, one total stranger each day, you'll meet 365 new people a year. And that's where we need to start, with that mindset. Talk to your neighbors.
Thank you, Mike. Dan.
Thank you. I've always encouraged our citizens to participate in our local government. Join a board, try out for planning, zoning, conservation, be a town meeting member. There's many ways to get involved. This past year, we started a town manager review committee, and I appointed a number of town meeting members to serve on that, to review the Town Manager Act and the Town Meeting Act. And those were all folks that not necessarily were elected to positions. Some were, but not all. These are citizens getting involved and taking an interest in our town.
Thank you, Dan. Mark.
As a select board member, it's critical. You have two of these and only one of these. You need to listen to the residents of Danvers. You need to seriously listen to their comments and need to take action. You need to get people involved. Like the other candidates have said, you need to get people involved on boards, on committees, because if you can communicate and educate, things will work a whole lot better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And Gardner?
Thank you. Danvers runs on volunteers. We have our town administration, obviously, that takes care of the day-to-day necessities, but truly what happens is that boards, commissions, serving on social and civic organizations is what makes the very fabric of this town. Some of us have served for years on the same boards and commissions. That's true. I was on Family Festival for 20 plus years. I've been a member of the Knights of Columbus for so many, because we were doing good work to help the town. The town has a talent pool form. Anybody with interest in being on a board, even if there's no current opening, can fill out that form and say, next time there's an opening, please let me know. I'm interested in conservation. I'm interested in the river. I might be interested in any measure of opportunity in the town. But it requires people to be proactive about that. We do have a communication mechanism right now that's passive. It has to change with the times. We used to rely heavily on local newspapers. That has shifted in time. We have to be more proactive about getting the word out. And we talk about, and this is how you learn about the town. Being an active participant, becoming a town meeting member, being on a board and commission is where you learn how the town actually works, and brings the experience when you want to get to the top, to the apex of the town leadership and become a select person.
Thank you, Gardner. Okay, Michael, question number 5.
Many of the larger residential developments in town have been met by strong public criticism. What would you do going forward to address that?
Kevin, you'll start answering this one first.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think nothing's been quite so controversial as Maple Square, the large mixed-use building that's in our downtown. So I think a couple things, right? It is our zoning. We should revisit it where it makes sense. And I don't in any way want to put down the work that a group of volunteers and town staff did over a decade to try to get the zoning right in our downtown. People call it MBTA zoning, but that's not entirely true. We made some tweaks with the MBTA, but that mixed use zoning was in the works long before the MBTA law from the state, which I wish they hadn't passed, by the way, right? Local control is the best kind of control for zoning, and we'd like to manage it ourselves. Thank you very much. But I think we should look at some key things down there. Height requirements are a big one. I think most people think that building is 1 story taller than it really ought to be. I think we ought to look at sloped roofs. We have a hip roof building that went up downtown that's new that fits much better in the design. So I think there are tweaks that we can make to try to keep our downtown looking the way we all think it should, and also to try to keep those retail establishments on the bottom floor full. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Natalie.
Okay, so planning, actually, the planning department is the one who works with the developers who come in to build the properties. And it's in their purview to a point, to encourage style, to encourage the design of the building, as long as it's meeting the zoning requirements. There's little really that can be done, except for being able to just gently, but that really comes from planning, the planning department. Again, zoning is approved at town meeting. We do have some control over zoning through town meeting. But again, style of building really is encouraged through the planning department. I would like to see the planning board, along with town meeting members who represent the constituents of their precincts, to enter into discussions on what, mixed-use buildings are going to look like downtown. Open communication and hearing from everybody, giving everybody a chance to be heard, is really the best way to address the complaints of styles of buildings. But really, it does fall within planning. But thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Mike?
I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I look forward to working with the planning board and zoning board on this and really diving into the data and also listening to, again, the people of Danvers.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And Dan?
Thank you. Yes. Listening to the citizens, their likes, dislikes about Maple Square, which really goes back to 2015, 2017. We enacted the design standards that town meeting approved. There's a lot of input from a lot of people. I'm hearing different thoughts on it now, and I think we really need to have a land use committee, call it put together a master plan with citizens, businesses, the planning staff, and really sit down and revisit design standards, what makes sense. There's been a lot of talk about the slope of the roofs, or flat roofs, pitched roofs, and it makes a lot of sense, but we really need to sit down as a community and decide what it is we want and where we want to have it. Unfortunately, the design standards that were adopted is what Maple Square is developed into. We can't turn the clock back, but it's not unreasonable to revisit design standards. And as select board member, I will encourage a land use committee to put together a master plan to look at building heights, styles, etc. going forwards.
Thank you, Dan. Mark?
Thank you. Planning and zoning, that's where it begins. But ultimately, it's the residents of Danvers. The residents of Danvers need to speak up. They need to talk. They need to come to the meetings. Once again, we cannot have any more Maple Squares in the downtown corridor. I strongly believe that it needs to be, any new building needs to be in keeping with, I don't want to say the old downtown, but more in keeping with the Fossa Block or some of the other buildings in town. The pitched roofs, the sloped roofs, just a little bit more style. Modern's nice, but there's nothing like the old town Danvers, the town that I grew up in. We need to keep a closer eye on what the design is going to be and speak up at these meetings. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mark. Gardner?
Thank you. A lot of references being made to Maple Square, the most visible development that's happened in town. And while it's nuanced, the reality is Maple Square was an overlay district. It was not the downtown corridor. Downtown corridor has its own unique zoning, its own unique height restrictions, design standards, facade standards, setbacks. They were crafted by the planning board, and through a series of literally dozens and dozens of public meetings, crafted to represent what downtown should look like. Maple Square was an overlay that converted a complete commercial zone with only 3 or 4 actual houses and reformed 11 dilapidated manufacturing plants that were in that corner that were not subject or available to repurpose or rehab. We can control zoning as a town. And we do that by encouraging and participating in planning board meetings, and then hoping that our town meeting members vote appropriately. The select board sets guidance, but it is not the ultimate decision maker. And so I look for people to become more engaged, and I too, like Dan, would actually encourage a master plan for the entire town. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Gardner. And Sandy.
Hi. Yes, I think it'd be rather important that we have plans drawn out for the square area and then abutting areas too as well as Endicott Street. I feel that we should follow a particular rule on how we would build in the square. Commercial at the bottom, of course, most certainly, and also maybe 1 to 2 floors above the commercial space. And I think it's also important for people to show up at meetings, and the one example of that is Danvers Marketplace. I think they've already had 3 changes for the model for the home, which I think was great, because the first drawing, even though it was beautiful, it was rather large. And I didn't think it fit well in that area. It just seemed like it was too cumbersome for the area. So I do like that it's 3 stories now, or 3 family. I'm not sure if it's condos or apartments. It looks much better. Definitely we know that we have to meet with planning and zoning departments. Another issue that I would like to see also done too is making certain that when the contractor put these plans through, that they also include parking. I mean, this parking 1.5 spots makes absolutely no sense. So we need to have something drawn up, whether it's off-street parking, parking lot, or another means, so that residents know that they have a place to park, because a lot of folks do use their cars. I mean, we do thinking about bringing the bus, but it can only take you to so many places as well. Let me just see here too. And okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Okay. You have another question for us, Michael?
I do. What work do you believe needs to be done to make Danvers a more equitable and inclusive town for all of its residents?
And Natalie, you'll start us off on this one.
Well, I believe that Danvers is an inclusive, equitable town. Much like what happens in most towns or cities, there are incidences that happen. However, to paint the picture overall that Danvers is not an inclusive town is worrisome to me. I feel we have Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. There is an accessibility committee. I know that within all of the boards and commissions that we have that people can join, there has been welcoming participation in all of them. I feel that Danvers has a Kiwanis and Rotary and a Lions Club that would happily take anybody. I feel that Danvers does not have an inclusivity problem overall, and I would love for that narrative to not be. I feel that everybody, especially on this board running for select board, is definitely welcoming and inclusive. So thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Michael?
I think this is a very important issue, and one that affects the health of our entire community. Everybody in Danvers deserves to feel safe, welcome, and valued. I would support efforts to increase transparency, strengthen our town's human rights and inclusion work, and invest in programs and events that celebrate the diversity already present in our community. We also need to listen. Again, that means open forums, better outreach, and regular dialogue with underrepresented groups to ensure every resident has a safe, comfortable seat at our table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Dan?
Danvers is a diversifying community. As time goes on, population changes. We are inclusive. We do have committees that work for inclusivity. We're not immune to the ills of the world, unfortunately, but we are a welcoming community, and it shows with the population that's diverging. And I think we do a good job. I think what we need to do is have a community engagement director that works with these different boards and help support the celebration of different ethnics, celebrate their heritage and what it is they like. But we do a good job of it.
Thank you, Dan. Mark.
Equity and inclusion is not only a Danvers issue. It's a societal issue. And in Danvers, we are, I think, very welcoming. Yes, there are instances that some folks haven't, but ultimately, everybody in Danvers, regardless of political party, religion, sexual preference, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that everybody in Danvers should be treated with dignity and respect. Treat people the way you prefer to be treated.
Thank you, Mark. Gardner.
I'm going to disagree with some of the statements that are made here today. I think there's a lot of work to be done for diversity and equity in our town. Most of us are sitting here from a viewpoint of privilege. And we have to recognize that not all of our citizens have the privileges and the equal rights that we enjoy. DEI is not just about people of color. It's meant to protect and provide equal opportunity for women, for seniors, for those with disabilities, for people who love who they want to love, and so much more. These are not choices. These are who these people are, and we have to welcome and understand that. I think we've been making directions, and I would absolutely commit to returning the community engagement director back to the role in town hall. I think we need a professional who will look at what's going on with the eyes of some inequality out there, and we should be addressing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gardner. Sandy.
Hi. As a sister of a brother who is gay, this really hits close to home to me. I think it's very important that everyone feels welcomed and that everyone has a voice and everyone feels like they're part of the community. I also feel that, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I'm thinking about my brother. Sorry. You know, like from his words, he said they worked really hard to be accepted in the community. They don't want to be treated any differently, but should also be available for everyone else. I think we have a broad, neighborhood of people. I mean, I've seen a lot of ethnicities here in town. I've seen celebrations occurring in town too, for people of different ethnicities, which I think is great. It's great for the kids to learn about all the ethnicities that they have, all their friends. I know in school in the first grade, they have what's called the Heritage Day. And I think it's a great way for kids to learn about other ethnicities. You had to pick a favorite food, favorite activity that you did as a family. And I thought that was a great way to open the door, so to speak, to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. And Kevin.
So I think Danvers is an inclusive community. I think Danvers is a welcoming community. Is there more we can do? Sure, there's always more we can do. You know, we had a really unfortunate incident, as everybody here knows, earlier this year, or at the end of last year, where a citizen was assaulted, and that incident was absolutely terrible. Should never have happened. Inexcusable. But I have to say, I've never been more proud of my community in some ways for the way they rallied around him, for the way they attended meetings, and wanted answers and wanted action. So when something bad here happens, people step up. And I wish nothing bad would happen, but we live in an imperfect world full of imperfect people. So I think that event, although terrible, showed the character of Danvers in some ways. I think that on all sides of this issue, we need to respect each other a little bit. You know, I think that we all need to assume that other people are of goodwill, and believe, as we all do here. I think that everyone has value. Everyone is human, and just by virtue of that is worthwhile. So I think that when we talk about these things, we need to not assume that someone else is coming from a position other than that. because we just get lost in the noise and the anger when that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, that's it for the questions. Thank you, candidates, for your candid answers. And Michael, I want to thank you for some very insightful questions. It was great to have you joining us tonight. And again, thanks for your participation.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that brings us to the closing statements from the candidates. And Michael is going to start with the closing statement. So, Michael, you have 1.5 minutes.
I just ask that you look inwards and outwards and consider me for a member of this select board on May 6th. Thank you again. Please visit www.electmikebaxter.com. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mike. And Natalie.
Okay, thank you. So our town has some big tasks ahead, and it's going to take a united community to meet them. Sadly, I feel our community is a little fractured, and I feel that in order to get these tasks done, we need some new voices bringing new ideas and fresh perspectives, and that we need nonpartisan, not one-party leaders committed to transparency, accessibility, and fairness, leaders who will listen and lead with common sense. Many of us running share the same concerns. And so then it becomes who brings real town and board experience, who demonstrates transparency, common sense, a collaborative spirit, and who wants to unite the board and not divide it, and who you would trust to work with everyone and make the best decisions for Danvers. And I hope you find that I could be one of those candidates. Please vote on May 6th, and we do have early voting this coming Saturday at Town Hall. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie. Kevin, your closing thoughts, please.
Thanks. Thank you very much to DCAT and the Salem News for putting this event on today. I really appreciate it. I think it's been a great event. So, like I said, I care a lot about Danvers. I grew up here. I live here now, raised my family here. I want to keep living here. I want to make this town the best it can be. When I look at the pressures we have about budget and development, I don't see any problems that we can't solve together. I hope that that you'll talk to me. I hope that you'll visit my website. I hope that electkevinbarrich.com. I hope you'll visit my Facebook page. Tell me what you think, and I hope that if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, you'll keep telling me what you think. Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Kevin. Sandy, your closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone on this panel has started new at some point, as myself, and I'm ready to bring a fresh perspective to the select board. I want to be the clean slate that our town needs. No baggage, no conflicts, just a commitment to keeping residents in the heart of every decision. Together we can create a future that reflects the values and priorities of Danvers. I love this town. First time I ever visited, I fell in love with it. I didn't want to leave. I think it's a great town. Is there some improvements we can make? Certainly, everything can be improved. Everything can be better. But I love it the way it is. And I would eventually like to see my children also live here too, generational residents, if you will. And I hope that I've won your vote on May 6th. We also have early voting too on April 29th, which is this coming Saturday. Hope to see a lot of people there too. And thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandy. And Gardner, your closing thoughts.
Thank you. Elections have consequences, especially in a small town like Danvers. This is my hometown, and protecting the fabric, culture, and heritage of our community is my main concern. My commitment is deeply rooted in protecting Danvers and keeping it a town. I know the rules, the regulations, the laws, and the actual authority of a select board member. And I will focus specifically on issues that affect our community directly, not some party agenda. With this election, we are faced with the prospect of electing a new board of 5 members where 1 member has 5 years experience, 2 have just 1 year experience each, and the prospect of electing even more candidates with 0 experience is troubling to me, especially as our new town manager begins her tenure. This is why it is so important to elect experience. Tonight you heard promises and comments, some of which were outside the actual scope and legal authority of the select board. including who actually controls zoning or how we conduct executive session. These are promises that cannot be kept, and they clearly demonstrate the lack of knowledge and experience of what the select board member does. These candidates are set on moving Danvers backwards, not forward. I am the candidate who is focused on the future of Danvers. Experience matters, Danvers' future matters, especially now. Thank you.
Thank you, Gardner. Mark, your closing thoughts.
We have a great opportunity right now. We have a new town manager coming in, Jill Cahill. She either knows or has to know the hierarchy, citizens, residents of Danvers, select board, town manager, and the board of selectmen need to hold not only town hall, but each other accountable for every decision that they make. It's unacceptable to go back to the way the last town manager handled himself. It's just can't happen again. Once again, we have a tremendous opportunity. We need to take advantage of this, and we need to mold this community into what we, as residents of Danvers, think and know that it should be like. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Dan, your closing thoughts.
Yes, thank you, John, for moderating tonight, Michael for the questions, DCAT for hosting this. I am running again to work with the new town manager and fellow board members to help set long-term goals for economic growth and development along Endicott Street, 114, and the Route 1 corridor, and not in our neighborhoods. I am committed, I am involved, and I participate in our community. My wife and I are accessible and interact with our citizens at their community gardens, the Polish Club, the Kiwanis Club of Danvers, the Senior Center, the Historical Society, the Rail Trail, Pancake Breakfast, and other town-wide events. I bring experience to the board and will continue to embrace new ideas that reflect the character of Danvers. Please vote May 6th, Dan Bennett for Danvers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of tonight's forum, and I personally want to thank all 7 of the candidates for their commitment to the town of Danvers. Running for office is no simple, easy choice to make. It changes your life pattern, it changes your families, and if you are elected to office, it's a big change. So thank you all for your dedication to Danvers and your willingness to run for this very difficult position. And thanks for participating according to the rules tonight, too. Made my job very easy. Pleasure. So a couple of things that I want to wrap up with. First, I hope you found lots of great information in tonight's program so that you can make a very clear decision when you go to vote on May 6th or through early voting. Second, if you need more information through tonight's program, this will be rebroadcast on our YouTube channel. So go there and you can watch it as slowly or as long or as many times as you would like. Second, go to the candidates' websites. Find out what the candidate has for their platforms, all of their thoughts. They answered very specific questions that were very good that Michael asked tonight, but they have a lot more thoughts about things that they want to do for Danvers. So please go to all 7 of their websites, look at what they have to say, and then you'll be a far more informed citizen to be able to vote. And then lastly, please vote. It is your right as a citizen to choose the people that you want to be your voice and get things done in your town. So I encourage everyone, if you haven't registered, please, please, please vote. It's a very important obligation. And with that, DCAT, thanks again for all you do for us, being the hidden jewel in Danvers. And to our candidates, thank you again. And to Danvers, good night.